The piece of paper taped to my front door wasn't just orange, it was radioactive. We're talking the color you see in caution signs at a nuclear plant, not your average, "Hey, you missed a package," sticky note. No, this thing was screaming from the sidewalk. "You, my friend, are officially a suburban menace, and the whole block's in on it." I stood there, clutching my keys, letting that little square of doom burn a hole in my retinas while the wind rustled my totally average mailbox. The font was all caps, big, bold, desperate, like someone wanted to make sure the Martians could read it. Notice of violation. Class B offense. Unauthorized window treatment color. Fine, $150 a day, every day, until fixed. I blinked. I looked at my living room window, back at the paper, back at the window again. Hanging there, unmoved, like a dog waiting for dinner, were my curtains. White. You know the shade. Not eggshell, not cream, not yogurt you left out too long. Just white. The kind of curtains you buy when you want the sun out of your face for the 1 o'clock football game. The kind that come in a 4-pack with a name like Chris Cloud and a sticker that says machine washable. I ripped the neon tape off my door so hard it took a chunk of paint with it. Great. One more violation to add to the tab. I didn't even have to look to know who was behind this. A fresh notice means the shark is still circling. And sure enough, 3 driveways down, there she stood. Linda, president of the Oak Creek Homeowners Association. The kind of woman who treats a subdivision of identical beige houses like her own personal kingdom. If the Pope wore floral capri pants and had a helmet of hair sculpted by rage and hairspray, that was Linda. She was hunched over the Hendersons' yard, measuring their grass with an actual ruler. I mean, who does that? Linda, I called. She didn't flinch. She just turned, slow as a tank turret, those giant sunglasses making her look like a beetle with a superiority complex. "Good afternoon, Mark," she said, voice sticky sweet. "If you like your sugar with a side of dental decay, I trust you received our correspondence." I waved the orange paper at her like a white flag. "Correspondence? This is a ransom note. Unauthorized window treatment? They're white, Linda. I got them at Target. The package just says white. Not off-white. Not vanilla latte. White." Linda let out a long, suffering sigh, as if my stupidity was physically painful for her. She stuffed her ruler into a tote bag, probably already full of shattered dreams and HOA pamphlets. And then, step by step, sandals smacking the pavement like a slow metronome, she made her way over, stopping just at the edge of my lawn because God forbid she violate her own precious turf bylaws. She peered over her sunglasses. "It's clearly ivory," she said, dripping disdain. "Ivory," I barked. "It's white, the cotton kind." She whips out a binder thick enough to kill a raccoon. The covenants, conditions, and restrictions. The HOA Bible. She flips to the right page without looking. Section 4, paragraph 2, subsection C. She recites, monotone. "All window coverings visible from the streetscape must be pure white or bright white. Colors such as cream, ivory, eggshell, beige, or alabaster are strictly prohibited as they suggest aging or lack of maintenance." Then she locks eyes with me, smiling the smile of someone who's never lost. "Your curtains are creating a dingy appearance, Mark. It lowers property values. Honestly, it looks like you smoke indoors." That was it. I could feel my pulse throbbing in my temples. "Nobody thinks they look dingy except you, Linda. I paid $500 for those drapes." She shrugged, cold as ice. "Then you paid $500 to break the law. You have 48 hours. After that, the fine is $300 a day for willful noncompliance. Have a blessed day, Mark." She turned and left, sandals thwacking, headed back to harass the Hendersons about their grass height. I stood there, vibrating, fist clenched. I went inside, slammed the door, and tossed the orange paper on the counter. For a while, I just stared at those curtains. They were good curtains. Heavy, insulated, blocked out all the heat. I held one up to the trim. Technically, yeah, the window trim was a blinding glossy white, and the curtains were maybe a little softer. Maybe if you squinted and had a head injury, you'd call it ivory. But only if you were Linda. I grabbed a beer, sat on the couch, and weighed my options. Choice A. I fight this. I show up at the HOA meeting and debate the semantics of visible light spectrum. Paint chips, color meters, the whole dog and pony show. But I know the board, Linda, her friend Karen, yes, really, and Jerry, who's been asleep since the Obama administration. I would lose. Choice B. I comply. Take down the curtains by some that look like sheets from a mental hospital and get on with my life. Rational, right? I'm a project manager. I solve problems. Path of least resistance. I finished my beer, resolved to just roll over and do it her way. So the next day, I went to Bed Bath & Beyond, staring at shelves of white curtains, snow, Arctic blizzard. A bored teenager stocking shelves asks, "Can I help you find something?" "Which one is whiter?" I said, holding up 2 packages. He stared. "They look the same, man." "They're not the same," I snapped. "Linda will know." He shrugged. "Arctic looks brighter, I guess." Sold. The new curtains felt cheap. They were so white they made my teeth hurt. I hung them up. My living room looked like a hospital waiting room. Sterile, cold, soul-crushing, but compliant. I texted Linda's emergency HOA number of photo, remediated. Pure white. Please confirm. 20 minutes later, she replied, "Better, but please ensure pleats are uniform. We want a tailored look, Mark." That's when I lost it. I fixed the pleats. I thought it was over. Then, 2 days later, bam. Neon orange paper again. Notice of violation. Non-compliant texture transparency. Fine. $300. Repeat offender surcharge. No way. This was war. I camped out on my driveway, beer in hand, waiting for her to show. She did. 5:15 sharp, clipboard ready. "Problem, Mark?" she asked. "You tell me, Linda." I bought the Arctic white curtains. Brighter than your teeth. Brighter than your delusions of being a beloved leader. "What now?" she sighed, flipping through her binder. "Color is technically compliant, but the fabric at night, when your lights are on, we can see silhouettes of your furniture. The material is too transparent. And the waffle texture? Not allowed. Bylaw 4.2c. She smiled. "You have 24 hours. That was it. No more." I made coffee, cleared the table, pulled out my copy of the CC and RS. I read the whole thing. It was 2 a.m. when I found it. Nowhere did it say the window glass itself had to be clear. No, all it said was window coverings must be white. So I called a stained glass artist named Vinny. Guy looked like a bouncer at a biker bar. I explained, big window, residential job, need it fast, wanted to be a big, glorious middle finger to the HOA. "You had me at Spite Project," Vinny said. "I hate HOAs. What are we talking? Abstract? Geometric? No. Think Dante's Inferno. Circle 8, fraud." Vinny actually laughed. "Hell yeah. I'll be there in an hour." 3 weeks and a small fortune later, Vinny and his crew installed the most jaw-dropping, hellish stained glass window the suburbs have ever seen. It was biblical. Demons, fire, tortured souls. Oh, and the centerpiece? A woman with Linda's unmistakable scowl, submerged in pitch, clutching a burning clipboard. Jerry and Karen were there too, immortalized in colored glass, each getting their karmic due. That night, I waited until Linda made her patrol. Then, with a flick of a switch, the LEDs behind the glass lit up, flooding the street in a hellish glow. Linda stopped cold. Her mouth actually dropped open. Neighbors stepped outside in their pajamas. Is that me?" she gasped, eyes huge. "It's interpretive," I said, grinning. "Represents the struggle against the tyranny of petty authority. Art, Linda. You can't find me for art." She called the cops. Officer Miller showed up, took one look, and said, "That's some fine glasswork. Is that leaded?" Linda spluttered about harassment. Miller just shook his head. "It's a window, Linda. Not illegal. Unless it's obscene, I'm moving on." Word spread. The next morning, a crowd gathered to admire the window. Even Mr. Henderson, grass ruler in hand, had a laugh. Linda fumed, but there was nothing she could do. That's when I realized the true lesson. The rules were never about harmony, never about safety. They were about control. But here's the thing. You can write a rule for everything, but there's always a loophole if you dig hard enough, or if you're just stubborn and have a little cash and a friend like Vinny. Soon, the window became the talk of the town. Linda stepped down as HOA president. The new guy, Jerry, hasn't called a meeting since. People started getting creative. Mailboxes painted neon green, gnomes popping up on lawns. The block was alive. Not uniform, not beige, but real. One day, I was sitting on my porch with Vinny, drinking coffee, sun coming through the window, painting the rug in wild colors. "So," he said, "what's next? You gonna go full Picasso on the siding?" I grinned. I checked the bylaws. No rule about driveway color. "How much do you think gold epoxy costs?" He spit out his coffee laughing. "You're a menace, Mark, but a righteous one." The moral, if you can call it that, hit me somewhere between the last cup of coffee and the first gnome popping up in my yard. Power only lasts as long as you let it. Bureaucracy, authority, all that. Sometimes it's just a paper tiger. One stubborn neighbor, one little act of creativity, and suddenly the whole system teeters. You could spend your whole life worrying about being compliant, about not making waves. Or sometimes you can have a little fun and maybe remind people that home means yours, not theirs. A few months later, after the dust settled, I got a letter. Not neon orange, just plain old white. The HOA was dissolved. The architectural committee was dead. Individual style encouraged. Only rule, don't block emergency vehicles. That night, I watched the sunset glint off my golden driveway. Vinny already sketching out plans for a 2-foot-tall bronze dragon for the garden. I kicked back, took a sip, and for the first time in years, felt like I actually lived at home. But let's be real. Freedom is a tricky beast. Without someone like Linda to rail against, what's a petty project manager supposed to do? Just enjoy life? Or is the urge to poke the bear just a little too hard to resist? So let me throw it to you. Where's the line? When does compliance become tyranny? And when does fighting back cross over into spite? Ever taken on the system just for the principle? Or maybe just for the fun of it? Drop your story, your hot take, or your Linda in the comments. Who knows? Maybe you'll inspire the next stained glass revolution.